This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, hi. Good morning and good evening, everyone. This is Brijesh from Tech Canvas, your host for this session today. So, before we start the session, I request everyone to keep your cameras and mics off. And for your questions and answers, we'll have the Q&A session in this webinar. So you can ask your all the questions and doubts there. All right. So, a small introduction about Tech Canvas. So, we are an IIBA endorsed training providers. So, we help aspirants in cracking their all the IIBA certifications in their first attempts. And similarly, we are also authorized training partner for PMI for project management certifications. Okay, so a small introduction about today's speaker also, Ms. Ipshita Chatterjee. So Ipshita is a Scrum Alliance CSPO certified professional with over 13 years of experience in mapping business analysis, business requirements, and project management. She is playing a role of agile coach by spreading agile at multi-team level throughout the organization. All right. So I would request Ipshita to start the session from here. Thanks, everyone. Over to you, Ipshita.
Thanks, Brijesh. Thanks for the introduction. I'll just share my screen and just confirm me if when you're able to see it, Brijesh.
Yeah. Yes,
Is it
Ipshita.
visible?
Yes.
Great. So I think we can get started. So today's topic of the webinar is how to become a product owner. So in Agile, of course, we have always heard the term of product owner, and these days it's sort of a buzzword because any company you want to look for, you're searching for jobs, you do get this role very prominent as a product owner role. So that is something which is very in these days, and people do want to switch their roles from business analysis or different areas of their work into a product ownership. But before we get into what product ownership is, one thing that we need to understand is who is a product owner and what do they do. So that is a very important aspect to understand in terms of, what are the roles and responsibilities of a product owner, or what are the work that is involved in their day-to-day activities. So let's just quickly do a deep dive of this of product owner in Agile. So basically, who is a product owner? So he or she is a visionary or a doer. So this person who is a product owner has a clear vision of the product. So he knows what is the product vision and what probably down the line, next 3-4 years down the line, where he or she wants to take the product to. So a complete view or a complete idea of what the product is delivering and what is the next steps for the product to sustain is something that the product owner has to know. Of course, the next bit is he's a leader and the team player because he needs to lead the team. When I talk about the team, it's a development team who is working for the typical product that is the organization is working for. So he needs to explain the requirements, he needs to lead the team, ensure that everybody in the team understands the product vision. Because since we're talking about agile, so and in agile we talk about team empowerment. So it's no longer that you just, as a typical business analyst, you just give the requirement to an agile team and they just start working on it. The team equally needs to understand what is the product vision and what they're working towards. So that's the reason it's the duty of the product owner to ensure that he or she is leading the team in the right direction. Of course, he's empowered and committed because the product owner has the complete authority to manage the different features of the product, decide upon when probably a particular feature would be released, prioritize the different features. He's a good communicator and a negotiator because he needs to communicate with different levels in the organization, be it the stakeholder, be it the end user, and also negotiate in terms of the features when it should be, a typical feature is supposed to get released, if they need to hold back a feature, and all these decisions are being taken by the product owner. And of course, he needs to be available always, because a product owner has to be available for the team in case the team needs any sort of clarifications, any sort of requirement gaps which probably needs to be answered. So a product owner is always available for the team. And what does he does? So what he or she is, what are the work that is involved into their day-to-day work? One is, of course, he or she is completely working with the team. This person is always collaborating with the Scrum Master in terms of deciding upon the sprint goal, or what the velocity of the sprint is going to be, and stuff like that. And he or she is always working with the customers, end users, and the stakeholders. So constant collaboration with the stakeholders, with the end user. So every time a sprint um, is completed, and probably when we talk about a typical feature is released out in the market, for example, so the product owner would actually get feedback from the end users and try to incorporate those feedback as well as and when into the product. And of course, envisioning the product in the sense he has a complete view of what the product needs to do, and probably down the line what exactly he or she wants the product to be delivered, what are the new features probably that needs to be added in the product. So the complete idea or the complete roadmap for the product is defined by the product owner himself. And of course, working with the product backlog. So in Agile, as we know, that product backlog is the source of requirement, and product owner is the person who owns the product backlog. So from the product, the backlog refinement to detailing down the user stories to prioritization of the stories, everything is maintained or done by the product owner. Then planning of the releases. So when the first MVP of a product should be launched, what is the next release that would subsequent release that would go. So everything is, again, release planning is also being done by the product owner. Then product owner would collaborate in the sprint meetings as well by explaining the sprint goal to the team, and also ensuring that every stories which have been a part of the sprint has been clearly explained or clearly understood by each and every team member. And by doing all these activities, definitely you would become a great product owner in the true sense. The next is, what are the roles and responsibilities that we talk about a product owner should have? So again, a very important aspects of the role, as we spoke of already spoken about, is managing the product backlog. So the complete product backlog management is done by the product owner, and so he is responsible of prioritizing the stories, deciding upon which features should be done first and stuff like that. So no one else in the Agile team would actually play around with the stories without the consent of the product owner. So product owner has the complete ownership of the product backlog. And as I've also mentioned in the earlier slide, that he or she is the one who creates the product vision, and this product vision also has to be shared with the team. So since we are working in an Agile team, each and every team member should know what is the product vision, and probably how the one particular user story that's picked up in a sprint, how is that being aligned with that product vision. So that clarity has to be there across the team. And again, responsible for the ROI. So whenever a product owner decides that, okay, let's take one particular feature for the release, so what is the return on investment? So that high level understanding has to be there, and has to be, the product owner should understand that bit. So how that particular feature is beneficial, and how much probably people will be using it, and then what would be the return on investment for that particular piece. Of course, deciding the release date, wherein he or she decides, like, when the MVP should launch, or when the subsequent releases would be there. So for example, if the product owner wants to launch a typical feature before Christmas, because probably if it is an e-commerce site, for example, and he wants to launch the MVP before Christmas, because it's quite obvious that people do a lot of shopping during Christmas because it's being a festive season. So these kind of thought process has to be there in the product owner's mind while deciding upon the release date. One very important thing is, product owner is one person. It's not a group or a committee. So it's like one person in a team is a product owner who is managing the complete responsibility of the product. and doing the end-to-end backlog management. Of course, product owner needs to collaborate with the stakeholders as well to get requirements, to understand what needs to be built. And another very important aspect when I talk about the responsibilities is, it maximizes the work of the dev team, that, the work that the dev team is doing. So that needs to be maximized, and of course, maximizing the value of the product. So probably which feature would be more valuable, which the features which would be more value add for the product. So all these things have been identified by the product owner, and that's how that complete product management, when we talk about that bit, actually works. Next bit is basically, how does a product owner we have already spoken about the coordination. He needs to coordinate across different levels. So what are the different levels in the organization that a product owner needs to coordinate and communicate across? So if you see this diagram, it's basically divided into two areas. One, definitely, which we already know, that product owner is constantly communicating with the team, of course through the scrum master, or he or she can directly communicate with the team as well. He is also communicating with the product manager to understand the different KPIs and the different market scenarios. So this level of coordination is something which we already know, and that is a very obvious thing, that if you're owning the product, you need to understand these different layers and you need to communicate with them. So through the organization level, when we talk about, so the product owner is constantly communicating with the end users and the customers to know more about the features, to get more feedback about different features that has been launched. Customer support is a constant communication, because through the support tickets which are logged for a particular product, you would actually understand, what are the typical the tickets, the frequent tickets or the frequent support items which are logged, and based on that, he and she can basically decide upon some new feature or some improvement of a typical existing feature as well. Then of course the C-level executive suite as well, because to get the different budget or the resources sanctioned, so there has to be good communication with the management as well. And then finally sales and marketing, because whichever feature you launch, right, it has to be properly marketed well, and the sales team also should know about it. So there has to be a constant communication with the sales and marketing team as well, so that they have a good picture of what needs to be what's the next feature that's being launched, and then they can plan about the different marketing strategies around that particular feature. Now, typical skills, as we've spoken about, when I talk about skills, of course, he or she needs to be a problem solver, because there's the product itself. So why are we building a product? Definitely there is a need or a requirement somewhere for which this realization has come, that okay, we need to create a product to solve a particular problem. So that's the reason we say that it's a problem solver. A product owner is trying to solve a particular or a problem, or catering to a need of a particular problem. The next bit is communication is very important if we go on base of priority. So the first bit is the communication, wherein you have to be very clear in your communication from the stakeholders to the team level. Everything has to be quite transparent. Decision making in terms of prioritization, the features, maintaining the product backlog, grooming the product backlog. So that's important skill. Focus, because the product owner has to be focused on the product vision, because anything that he or she decides upon in the product backlog, everything has to be aligned with the product vision itself. So the focus needs to be there. Problem solver, as I said, so of course the need or the requirement why they're trying to build this particular product. And of course, if you want to see in another way, of course, if the team needs any help in terms of some clarity on some requirements, that's also been provided, that support is also being provided by the product owner. And result evaluation. So whenever we try to launch a typical product, right, there are certain KPIs that are set. So probably you would want, so when you want to launch a particular e-commerce site, so once your MVP is launched, you would actually want to understand how much sales have actually been increased from before. So that is something called as a result evaluation. So based on that, it helps you to understand whether the feature that you have gone live with is actually being beneficial to the end user. So setting KPIs and evaluating those things will actually help you to understand that you are taking your product into the right direction. So that is something that is decided by the product owner. But of course, sometimes in the result evaluation bit, the product manager also comes into the place, because that product manager is somewhere higher onto the level of the hierarchy, so they are much more closer in terms of, you know, setting KPIs, evaluating them and stuff like that. But a product owner can equally take part in it. And of course, constant learning. So the more you understand the product, the more you probably, you know, talk to your end users or stakeholders, the more you get feedback from them. You are constantly learning. You're constantly learning the current market trend. Probably you're constantly doing a competitor analysis. So all these things adds on to the learning area of the product owner. And then typical competencies, when we talk about, of course, he or she needs to be a domain expert, because unless and until you know the domain well, you cannot actually, you know, decide upon the features or decide upon, you know, the product roadmap. So knowing the domain is important. Again, maximizing the product value. So with the typical bit of work that we do, the features that we launch, how the product value is being maximized. So probably one small feature can be a big value add to the product. So understanding that, communication and influencing skills is very important, because have to have a very clear communication throughout. And of course, you need to influence probably your stakeholders on certain decision making bits, as well as you might also have to influence your team to, you know, understand the requirements and stuff like that. And typically a product owner is customer to product translator. So how the requirements from the customers or end users are translated into the product is something that's been done by the product owner. And that's why it is, we say that, you know, he's a product owner is somewhere who is owning the complete product and has the product vision very much clear in his or her mind. So the next bit here is like how basically you would, you know, the different departments or the different roles that are around, how a typical product owner is overlapping these roles all across. So it is just not because in many companies we do have a misunderstanding that a product owner is nothing but a business analyst, but that is actually not the case. So as a product owner, you have to step into multiple shoes. So the first and the foremost thing is, when you get into the project management bit, is like understanding when the work will be done, because since you as a product owner, you're doing the release management as well, so you need to have a high level understanding, as you know, when this particular feature will be completed. So high level estimation or a high level timeline is something that a product owner you need to have in mind, that okay, because based on that probably you'll have to do your, you know, your release planning, or even when you create your product roadmap, when you decide upon, you know, typical set of features that you want to complete in quarter 1, a couple of features that you want to complete in quarter 2. So to come up with that, you need to understand when a typical features or probably set of epics will be completed. So that is where you are stepping into your project management shoes. Leadership is very important, because you need to have everyone aligned with the product vision, and you need to lead in terms of, you know, the product and the features that are being developed. So that is again a very important thing. In terms of product management, or, you know, stepping into the shoes of a product manager as well, so you need to understand the product, the customer and the value. So you need to understand what is valuable, and again, to understand that, probably you might have to set some KPIs, or you might have to reach out to the end users, get feedback. And sometimes you might also have to step into the sales and marketing bits also to understand, how much sales have been increased, or what is, if certain things are not working, why it is not working. So basically doing a deep dive of the analysis to understand what are the problem areas. And of course, business analysis, wherein the identified features are probably broken into smaller user stories as well. So these bits are also something that a product owner might get involved into. So we'll take the questions at the end of the session, so you can add the questions in the chat bot. Now, there is a typical overlap when we say of the product owner or product manager, whichever you want to call. So again, product manager and product owner, also these two roles are independent and there is also overlap. But today we'll see a typical overlapping of a product owner and a business analysis. So as a business analyst, basically, we have been basically writing use cases or user stories, writing the functional specs or functional documentation, understanding the business process, understanding the rules, business rules, typically requirement gathering. And once probably the project is completed, we write down or we create training documentations as well, or training materials as well. In terms of product owner, it's like the product owner is doing a complete portfolio management. When I talk about portfolio management, it is more of maintaining the product roadmap towards the end-to-end product roadmap, aligning with the product vision. That's what it is. He or she is owning the profit and loss. So what is the, again, this is something which probably, if you have a product manager in the organization, portfolio management and owning the profit and loss would be done by the product manager, and typically not by a product owner. But again, it depends on the organization, because if you're working for a smaller organization, in that case you might not have a product manager at all and the product owner is controlling everything. But if there are different hierarchies, if you're working for a big organization, then definitely you would have separate independent roles for a product manager and a product owner. Then of course client management, because stakeholder analysis and probably talking to the customers, taking requirements are done by the product owner, creating the product vision of what this product particularly needs to do. So that is being done by the product owner. Backlog grooming end to end is being done by the product owner, wherein the complete backlog is being maintained, groomed and prioritized by the product owner themselves. Product marketing, so again, this is something which probably is again an overlap with a product owner and a product manager, because many a times you need to coordinate with your sales and marketing team as well and take certain decisions on the different marketing strategies. Again, product owner is also customer focused, so you build a product that a customer wants. Here the customer is basically end user who will be using the product. And then business model generation, so what is the next step for the product? So you generate the next strategy for the business to basically grow, is what the product owner should think. So what typically feature that can be added, or where how do I take the product to the next level? So probably I have a web application, the next business model of that particular product would be to create a mobile app. So taking it to the next generation is what a product owner's thought process should be involved into. And typically when I talk about the overlapping roles of a product owner and a business analyst, here is which comes into the picture. So again, it's a, a tactical focus on the the user stories that you're working upon. Then again, writing the user stories or detailing down with the acceptance criteria, something which a business analyst can do as well as a product owner as well. Product market management is something, again, sort of managing the end-to-end product, doing a sort of defect handling in terms of how many bugs have been logged, and doing that particular product managing. Product strategy sometimes can also be decided by the business analyst or the product owner, where the role is overlapping in terms of when they think is the right time for a particular release to go, and probably what are the features should get into your MVP. So these strategic decisions can be done by the BA as well as the POs. and again system focus, because both of them are focused onto the product that they're building. So that's the reason it's an overlapping role, wherein couple of things can be done by the BAs as well as by the product owner. Now, if from a business analyst you want to move into a product owner role, then the work or the bullets mentioned within the overlapped areas are your step one to basically get into a product owner role. So something which probably you need to upgrade yourself in managing the product, understanding the product strategy, okay, understanding the vision. So all these things are your first step towards moving towards the product owner role. Now, there are also different roles as well when we talk about, product owner, we're talking about project management, we're talking about business analyst. So most of this thing, if you see whatever we have read through so far, are like there's a lot of overlaps all across. So which are the typical work items? Of course, there can be more as well, but something that I'm able to identify in terms of the different roles. Now, as a business analyst or a BA, you are, of course, understanding the business, you are clarifying the team's questions, you are basically, doing your requirements, you're identifying the non-functional requirements, you're writing the user stories, you're detailing down the acceptance criteria, or if you're doing it in a use case format, you can even do that. So you're basically more focused on the requirements and ensuring that the team understands those. Coming to the product owner, it is mainly to ensure that all the stories have enough details. So basically, we have something called as definition of ready, which basically ensures that the stories have all the details that it should have. So ensuring that the definition of ready is met for the stories. Again, backlog grooming, a typical team collaboration, release tracking, engaging the business. So talking to the stakeholders. So all these things are again high level work that a product owner would do. And coming on to the project manager. So again, project manager does more of forecasting, right? Budgeting, then resource management, then understanding the risk and constraints. So sort of risk management as well. So these are again independent roles of a project manager. Now, when you basically overlap, because many places you do see in organizations that you're a BA as well as a project manager, or you're a BA as well as a PO. So how do you maintain such overlapping roles? Now, when you are a BA as well as a project manager, for example, then of course you have to probably do some more in things of, you are understanding what the scope is, ensure that scope creep doesn't happen. You are of course understanding what the business case you're working towards, understanding what the team's problem is, collaborating, doing a business modeling as well. If there are any alternative options available for a typical solution, you can look for those also. So these are sort of overlapping roles when it comes to a BA and a project manager. Then a PO and a project manager. So it's like, again, you understand what your product vision is and what the product roadmap is, then taking part in the release planning. Personas are nothing but, you understand your end users, you talk to your end users, you understand what their needs are, what their goals are. So taking part in that. Feature definition, again, defect management, scope management. So all these are sort of overlapping roles when I talk about a product owner and a project manager. And also, when this is a very common thing, an overlap with a PO and a BA, which is very much seen and which probably happens in most organizations. So which is understanding the product strategy, understanding business case, story, requirement gathering, writing stories, also doing a cost benefit analysis. So how do you basically do it? So if I have two user stories, right? One probably is a 2-pointer story, the other is a 5-pointer story. However, the one which is 2-pointer story is probably giving me more value add to the product than the 5-pointer story. So in that case, I would go with the 2-pointer story first. So that's how you basically do it in terms of the cost benefit analysis. And of course, backlog refinement is the first and foremost bit of a product owner. Then, facilitating different meetings, customer focus, end user focus is always important. And also taking part in the acceptance testing, or probably earlier days in waterfall we used to call it as UAT. So taking part in that, ensuring that whatever has been developed is on track, is what is important. Right. Couple of steps which probably will help us. Again, these are not hard and fast rules, but if you are, want to start your role as a product owner, so the first and the easiest way, if you want to switch your role, is like the easiest way to do it is like if you can get into the role of a product owner within your existing team itself, because in that case you already understand what your project is all about, you already have a high level domain idea as well. But typically, for starting your role into product owner, it's like you need to form the scrum team and collaborate with them. So understanding, having a good bonding with the team collaboration is important. You need to understand what the product vision is, have a clear idea on the product vision, what we are building, why we are building, what problem is that going to solve. And of course, have clarity on your stakeholders, and you need to engage them, you need to have a good bonding with them. And of course, have clarity on different mandates. So there can be resource constraints, there can be budget constraints, so have clarity on that. Understand what is valuable for the product. So what are the value adds which probably you can add into the product that probably the customer wants. And then you need to create a goal oriented product roadmap in terms of high level timelines and whatever features you want to add on. And eventually you can create a story map as well for a better understanding, as well as to team to give a better clarity. And whenever you are conducting a sprint planning, you need to ensure that the sprint goal is clearly mentioned and it is understood by all. And of course, you always have to keep collaborating simultaneously with the team and your stakeholders. So that constant collaboration has to be there. So this is a very, very high level bits which we spoke about. And then of course, there are a lot of certifications also available, which helps you to do which of course helps you to get into a product owner role easily. So these are a list of certifications. Something which is very common again is the CSPO by Scrum Alliance. Also the safe product owner is something which you can also do. Then there is a professional scrum product owner also by scrum.org. And recently IIBA has launched CPUA, which is a certified product ownership analysis. So this is a very good certification, and of course it gives an in-depth about different principles and the different techniques which a typical product owner should follow in their for the product management. And so Tech Canvas is also providing the CPOA course. So it's a 5 weeks duration, and it's basically a combined course wherein first you would have a better understanding of a product owner and the typical role. So we'll do a very deep dive of a product owner, more mainly concentrating on the competitor analysis, market research and stuff like that, with different examples and case studies. And the second part of this course would be to prepare yourself for the CPUA certification, which is by IIBA.
Yeah. So now we have a batch which is going to start from 19th of February. So this is our CPUA batch, wherein as Ikshita has explained that the training will be having a dual purpose. So this training will help you in becoming you a product owner. Plus, this training is going to prepare you for this certification exam as well. So, if you have interest to go for this batch, so you can always reach out to us on the given contacts here. So you can write on the given email ID, or you can directly call us on the given number. Yes, Ipshita. So over to you.
Great. So we'll just take up the questions one by one then.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, you are right, Tom. It is basically minimizing the work and maximizing the value. But here it's mentioned that maximizing the team's effort. So basically, it's not like wherein we wanted to ensure that you are using your team's capacity. So it's not like, okay, you just have few developers who are not working, but if you have 5 developers in the team, you are ensuring that the complete team is contributing. So it's like maximizing not the work, the one which I mentioned, it's like maximizing the development team's effort. So you're ensuring that everybody in the development team are giving their full capacity towards developing or towards the sprint or towards the stories that they are working upon. But typically when we talk about work or talk about value adds, it's always like minimizing the work and maximizing the value. So with minimum amount of deliverable, we need to look for a maximum value add. So as I said, so if I have a 2-pointer user story and a 5-pointer user story, and if the 2-pointer is giving me more value add, I would always go for the 2-pointer first. So that's how I actually do the prioritization. Does that answer your question, Tom? If you're still there? Okay, yes. So yes, it sounds that there's a lot of crossover, or yes, there is a lot of crossover on the product owner and the product manager. So as I already said, so if you work for small organizations wherein the product owner himself or herself is managing the product as well, so probably just have one person doing this dual role. In that case, the end-to-end work is being done by that one person. But again, big organizations do have breakups, they do have hierarchies wherein there are distinct roles and responsibilities defined for a product owner and a product manager. But on a high level, product manager would mainly handle the sales and marketing part, understanding what the budget is, understanding what the ROI is, and product owner in that case would basically manage the requirements, the product vision, and the product roadmap. So that's how the division usually happens. The next question, okay, anybody speaking?
Yeah, Ipshita, actually, there is a question from Vishal that what is the cost and the duration of this training?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the cost would be somewhere around $260, and the duration would be it would be a 5 weekends course. So overall, around 24 hours of a training you will be having in this, Vishal. We'll share you the complete details to your email ID. So if we'll connect you, and if you have any questions, you can write back. Yeah. So now Emmanuel is asking, is this training just to pass the CPUA exam or hands-on training on becoming a product owner? Yeah, of course, Emmanuel. As we said that this training, of course, is going to help you in cracking this certification exam, and this training is going to help you in becoming a product owner also from scratch.
Right. Is there any other question?
Hi, this is Anand Srinivasan. I have a question. Currently, I work for a software services industry wherein technically, per se, the product or the outcome that I deal with is not a product in and of itself. It's a web-based application. So right now, today, I work as a business or a senior business analyst. So if I want to consider moving on to a product ownership role or even a product manager role in the long term, if that is my goal, will these certifications like CPUA, the product ownership certification, will help me, or any other certification in addition to this will help me get there to become a product owner or a product manager in a different industry, like in a product-based industry, moving from a service to product-based industry. How does that going to look like with the help of these certifications?
Yes, it will definitely help you because these certifications are, mainly concentrated around, when the the course, in fact, is mainly about the product and building the product and building the product lifecycle. So it has an in-depth. So if you're switching from a service-based industry to a product-based industry, the CPUA training, the CPUA certification is definitely going to help you. And of course, since it is, from the IIBA itself, so it does have a lot of weightage all across. So it's not a typical different kind of a course, but it's been backed up by IIBA, so it will definitely have a good impact, and it adds on to your resume as well.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Sita. Thank you.
Hello, I have to ask.
And not only that, it will give you a good understanding also. Yeah, sorry,
Sure.
go on.
Uh, I have to ask one question that what is validity of certificate, 1 year, 2 year, or how much?
Right. The CPUA IIBA, it's like I don't think it has any validity as such. Since it's not like Scrum.org or Scrum Alliance. So it is like once you do the certification, it is valid enough because you
Yeah, there
become
is
a
no
member of
recertification on
IIBA
this.
directly. So yeah. Yes.
Yes, Ipshita.
Yeah. Certification is only there for the CSPO and not for this, which is Scrum.org, or I think Scrum Alliance. Sorry. Any other questions? Anyone?
Hi, Sita. I have another question. So the
Yes, please.
one of the previous slides wherein you talked about, you brought up in a visual representation of where the product owner role fits in the big picture among the different team members like sales and marketing, product manager, scrum master, development team, and
Correct.
so on. Is that typically in an work agile way of doing things, or is it in general, be it agile or any kind of project management methodology?
This is like any kind of project management. It's typically not agile. Maybe in this case, the scrum master replaces with a project manager. And because product owner role, the term has come from agile, because that's what, in agile, we have a product owner, which is an independent role altogether. That's the reason the picture shows like that. But it's equally applicable for any kind of a organization framework as well.
Okay. Okay then. Thank you again. Thanks.
No problem. Anything else? Anyone?
Ipshita, there is a question in the chat box.
Just check
Uh,
towards the end.
which role is bigger in hierarchy, BA or PO?
So it is BA, PO, and then PM, which is my product manager. So if you talk about, again, hierarchies differ from organization to organization, but the level of your understanding is you start as a business analyst, you become a product owner, and then you become a product manager. Any other questions?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the last one?
In terms of the hierarchy?
Yeah, in terms of the hierarchy.
Right. So usually it's like, you start as a business analyst, because business analyst can be a 1 year experience or a 2 year experience person as well. So you understand, how you basically do your requirement gathering and stuff like that. Next, you move into a product owner role wherein you understand the product and an end to end. So probably after a business analyst, you can become a senior business analyst as well. Depends on your organization strategy and your, the hierarchy which is there. But then typically after the BA, it's a product owner role wherein you understand the complete end-to-end product, the product vision, the product strategy, and eventually the next level is the product manager, wherein you decide upon probably the profit and loss, what is the revenue, what are the different KPIs and stuff like that.
Vishal is asking, I am already a CBAP. Will CPUA be helpful?
CBAP is more for business analyst, as I said. CPUA, as I was talking before as well. So it is more on a product point of view. So you understand more from a product strategy. So it's like, if you have a product mindset, but even if you're working for service company as well, but eventually the project that you're handling is nothing but a product. You develop a web application, you develop a mobile application, everything ends up as a product. So it will give you a very clear picture of, what a product life cycle is all about and how your mindset should be to have a product vision, to understand the product roadmap. So it is morely concentrated around the product. So, and if you want to move towards a product owner role, CPUA will definitely be helpful because it adds on to a certification, always adds on to your resume to the role that you want to opt for. But even if you're a business analyst and you want to have a good understanding of a product mindset, CPUA has a very good well-defined structure. The course itself that IIBA has designed, it's a very good well-defined structure for having that product mindset on. And in Agile, we always talk about product mindset. So yeah, if you are following Agile methodology, this will definitely help.
Hello, Ipshita. Can you hear me?
Yes, Akhil.
Okay. Yeah. My question is, in a service-based sector, for example, we would be working for a different customer or someone like that, right? So, would the product owner
Correct.
be from the customer end because we'll be working for their product, right? So, is it like the product owner would be from the customer end, or would it be from the service provider?
So mainly, maximum times, as we have seen, if you're working for a service company, the product owner is usually from the customer end because they have the product vision and everything is defined. But again, many a times the customer probably is not that tech savvy or probably doesn't have much understanding. So in that case, they might give it to the service provider as well. But usually, product owner will be from the customer side itself.
Okay,
90% of the time.
even for a product-based company, is it?
If you're a product-based company, then anyways, you are and you're working for a product-based company, then probably the BA role doesn't even exist. It's the product owner who is always managing everything. So a product company will definitely have a product owner, and the prominence of the product owner is much more compared to any other service companies, if you see. And the responsibilities of a product owner will be much more in a product company. But in a
Okay, got it.
service-based company, it depends on the organization hierarchy, because probably you are not playing a full product owner role, but they would still call you a product owner and give you some of the responsibilities. Because these days, the business analyst role in Agile, if the project is following Agile methodology, probably they will not call them as a typical business analyst. They'll call you as a proxy product owner or a product owner. So if your product owner is from the customer side, then the one which is in the service provider side, they will call them as a proxy product owner. So that they're just proxying for the product owner, but they also have some responsibilities of a product owner. So that's the trend that's going on these days.
Okay, got it, Ipshita. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Although I just typed it in the chat, but I'll just say it here. I'm wondering, do you help after the training with my CV? I'm CSPO certified. I may not need to do the certified product ownership analysis, but I would love to go through the training. If it's going to be hands-on from start within the 5 weeks, if I'll be taught the process and everything I need to know about becoming and succeeding as a product owner after this training, is that what is going to be like, or the training is geared more towards the exam? Is it more hands-on? And when this is done, would you help with my CV?
It will basically help because, of course, we will definitely follow the IIBA course that is there, but then we are also mainly focused on a couple of use cases, examples, and of course the training. Like if you're talking about with the course that we have formulated, it has a lot of examples which will help you to understand. It has use cases, it has a lot of examples, as well as a lot of scenario based things as well, which will help you to probably sort your day-to-day problems if you're already working as a product owner. And also there are a lot of techniques which again IIBA has prescribed, but these techniques are equally helpful, and you can always apply those in your project or in your product that you're building.
Okay, because I have friends who are CBAP certified, and looking at the curriculum, when you take the CBAP exam and what you do as a business analyst, to be honest, it's not the same thing. It's different on the job. So since I'm already CSPO certified, I wouldn't need to take the CPUA. I'm just hoping that there'll be real life examples. There'll be real assignments, get your hands to do what a PO does on a regular basis, just to help me so that when I get a PO role, I know what to do. That's what I'm really concerned about before I get on this course.
Sure, this will actually help, because even the questions that we have, those are all scenario based. So yes, this will definitely help you. But then over a period of time, you can even think of doing this course, because CSPO anyways is a yearly bit, right? You have to keep renewing it.
Every 2
but
years, yes. Mine
yeah,
is valid till October this year. I may have to
okay.
renew it at the point, but in the meantime, it's still valid. But I just need some real hands-on experience as a product owner. I'm wondering if this training will give that to me.
Yes, it will definitely. And in the meantime, you can also just have a look at the courses, this course as well, the topics that we will be covering. So a high
Where do I
level
find it?
idea. So Brijesh, can we just give
Yeah.
them? Yeah.
I'll email Emmanuel will email you the course brochure. You can go through them. So
Please.
you'll get the clarity like what all topics we're covering in this. And if you have any questions, you can come back to us.
All right. The 10% discount, how long is that valid for? Valid till?
That will be valid before this batch.
Okay, that's on the
We have a batch starting from
on the
19th.
20th.
I thought it was a 20% discount.
Oh, 20,
Yeah,
sorry.
just 20%, right?
Okay, I'll be very happy to get on that one. So it will run from the 20th of this month till like maybe end of March.
5
Right,
weeks.
19th of this month, yes, 5 weeks.
19th of February to 19th of March.
No, not 19th of March. I'll tell you, like it will start from 19th of February, and then it's gonna get over by 20th of March.
20th of March, and it's only weekends, correct?
Yeah, only weekends, Emmanuel.
Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday, Sundays, yes.
All right, that's it for me. Thank you.
Just to request additional clarification, I see that what you have is 20th of February, but you have verbalized to say 19th of February. So, which one is it? Is it 19th or 20th, please?
Yeah, it will be 19th actually. That will be uploaded soon.
So that's a Saturday and not 20th, which is a Sunday, right?
Right.
So, how much is the cost, the training?
The training will cost you somewhere around $260 US dollars.
$760.
$260, I said, sorry. 260.
$260.
$260, yes.
So we take 20% off of that.
Right? Yes.
That should be $208.
Yeah, 208, yes. 208, yes. You're right.
Canadian dollars.
Yeah, $208, yes.
So does this also cover for the CPUA exams, or that is different?
No, that is different actually. That you pay to IIBA directly.
So when I get for example, my follow-up question is, the CPO certification, is this the highest certification that product managers or product owners take, just like you have CBAP for business analysts?
Yeah, for product owner, actually IIB has only one certification, that is CPUA. Okay, so that is the highest certification you can say from IIBA.
Okay. Thank you. I don't think I have any further questions, and thank you very much for.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so answering to this Vishal's questions, right, whether we provide CSPO training. So I'm sorry, Vishal, we do not have a CSPO training at Tech Canvas.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Oh, okay. I have one more question. For each training session, what is the duration? How many hours?
Yeah, so there'll be a 2.5 hours session every Saturdays and Sundays. So every weekend 5 hours. So in total, we'll be having around 24 to 25 5 hours of training.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't realize it was Saturdays and Sundays. I thought you said 19th, which is like Saturday.
Right. So what is your time zone exactly?
EST.
EST. All right. So EST. No, I guess EST would be your morning timing actually. It would be right because when we have our evening, so you'll be having your morning time, right? So I'll tell you EST would be 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. 11:30 a.m. Saturday Sundays.
Please, when you're sending me the email, would you kindly send the cost?
Sure, we'll share you all the information there. I mean, complete details will be sent to you.
Thank you, please. I need that ASAP. Thank you.
Pleasure. Yeah, Vishal. Yeah, we know that. All right. So if anyone has any questions, so you can ask or send it in the chat box. So I guess there is no further questions, Akshita. We are good now, I guess.
Okay.
Just a moment, Akshita. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right then. Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Akshita.
Thank you.